I'm recording this because if I try to write it, I'll start editing myself again, like I always did when I was trying to sound reasonable. If you find this audio, don't message the person you think this is about. Don't warn them. That's the fastest way to become part of it. And if your front door ever clicks when you didn't touch it, don't assume it's the building settling. I used to think stalking was loud. Heavy footsteps on the stairs, a shape across the street, a car that follows you home with its headlights off. What happened to me was quiet. It was the volume turned down so far you start turning your own thoughts up to compensate. We broke up cleanly. That's the phrase I used when people asked. Cleanly, mutually. We wanted different things. We were better as friends. Pick a sentence. I collected them like bandages. In truth, it was a slow unthreading. I stopped answering messages that were only, "And where are you?" and "Are you awake?" I stopped explaining why I needed a night with my phone on airplane mode. I stopped treating jealousy like weather, something unavoidable you just dress for. The day I realized it didn't end with the breakup was the day my apartment stopped feeling like my apartment. It started with small things that are easy to dismiss. My bath towel was folded the wrong way. I mean, wrong. Not messy, not careless. Folded the way I never folded it. I told myself I must have been in a hurry. Then my kitchen chair moved. I'm not dramatic. I don't say that because I want you to believe me. I say it because it made it worse. I was the kind of person who blamed myself first, then circumstances, then stress, then maybe, if I was in a generous mood, the universe. So when my chair was pulled out as if someone had sat there, I stood in the doorway and stared at it until my eyes started making it wobble. Then I walked in and pushed it back in place. I laughed once to prove to the room that I was the sort of person who laughed. The next day, I found a contact lens case on my bathroom shelf. I don't wear contacts. It was clear plastic, a little cloudy from use, with the faint blue tint of cheap saline. If you've ever seen one, you know how intimate they look, like a tiny bed for an eyeball. I picked it up with my thumb and forefinger and held it in the light. There was a hair stuck to the lid, pale and fine. I threw it away. I washed my hands twice. Then I did something I never told anyone. I checked my photos. Not my gallery, my deleted folder. I don't know why. It was instinct, like an animal sniffing smoke. There, among the accidental screenshots and blurry shots of my shoes, was a picture I didn't remember taking. My living room, shot from the hallway. The chair pulled out. The timestamp was 2 nights ago, 2:42 a.m. I told myself I must have sleepwalked. I told myself I had woken up and taken a photo because I thought I'd heard something. I told myself a lot of things. I was very good at it. I messaged my ex then, not to accuse, just a neutral, casual check-in. Something normal people do. "Hey, weird question. Did you ever keep a spare key? I can't find mine." The response came immediately, like they'd been waiting with the chat open. "No." "Why?" I stared at the screen. The typing indicator blinked again. "You okay?" The question felt too close to my face. I put my phone down on the counter and watched it like it might move on its own. That week, my building's front door started clicking. It wasn't the full buzz of someone being let in. It was the soft mechanical sound the lock makes when it disengages, just for a second, then catches again. Click. Silence. Click. Silence. It happened at random times, sometimes twice in a row, like someone testing it. I asked my neighbor if the lock was broken. She shrugged. Old building, always something. At night, I began sleeping with my bedroom door closed. I never used to. It made the room feel too small, but now the open doorway felt like a mouth. I started checking the locks twice, then 3 times. Then I began taking photos. Ridiculous, I know, of the lock in the locked position. Proof for the version of me that would wake up and doubt myself. And then the photos started changing. The first time, I thought I'd taken the photo at a slightly different angle. The second time, I realized the angle was the same, but the deadbolt was turned, not dramatically, just enough to look undecided. I got a new lock. I told myself that was the end of my paranoia. I told myself I'd paid the anxiety tax and I could go back to living. That's when the notifications began. I don't mean messages, I mean the tiny, bland system prompts your phone gives you, things that are supposed to be helpful. New device signed into your account, your password was used to sign in, unusual activity detected. Each time, I changed passwords. I enabled two-factor authentication. I checked devices. I logged everything out. I became my own IT department, exhausted and sweaty, tapping through screens with trembling fingers. Each time, the new device disappeared before I could see what it was. Then my smart speaker spoke. I didn't use it much. It sat in the corner of my living room like a polite guest. One evening, I came home with groceries and set them down. The apartment smelled like the hallway, dust and laundry detergent. As I closed the door behind me, the speaker chirped. "Welcome home." It had never said that before. I hadn't enabled any routines. I stood still with my keys in my hand, listening to the quiet after the words, like listening to a room after someone has left it. I said out loud, "Stop." The speaker didn't respond. Of course it didn't. It doesn't understand stop unless you program it. But the apartment felt like it had heard me. That night, I unplugged it and put it in a drawer. I turned it face down like a scolded pet. The next morning, my phone alarm didn't go off. I overslept, missed a meeting, woke up with my heart already running. When I grabbed my phone, there was a missed call from an unknown number at 2:42 a.m. 2:42 again. I listened to the voicemail with my thumb hovering over the speaker like it could burn me. It was silence at first. Then, faintly, a sound like someone breathing with their mouth closed. Not dramatic, not wheezing, just present. Then a soft click. The same click as the building door. I deleted the voicemail. I blocked the number. I sat on the edge of my bed and pressed my palms into my eyes until I saw stars. Here's the thing that messes with you. You can live with fear if it stays on one side of the door. You can bolt it out, you can call someone, you can move. But what if the fear is already inside the routines? Inside the settings? Inside the places your brain marks as safe because they're boring? I started to notice repetition. Every time I walked into my building, the elevator light would flicker once on the third floor. Every time I washed my hands, the faucet would stutter. One brief hiccup, exactly 3 seconds after I turned it on. Every time I unlocked my new deadbolt, my key would catch on the same tooth as if something inside the lock hesitated. At first I thought, pattern seeking, stress, my brain looking for meaning. Then I realized it wasn't the building doing it. It was me being trained. Like a bell. Like a leash you don't see because it's attached to something you can't admit is attached to you. I decided to test the world back. On a Friday, I left my apartment without my phone. I left it on the kitchen counter screen down like I was turning my back on a conversation. I told myself I was taking my life back with both hands. I walked to a cafe 3 blocks away. I sat by the window. I ordered tea and watched people pass, trying to feel normal. My brain kept reaching for the absent weight of my phone, like a tongue touching a missing tooth. When I got home, my apartment smelled different. Not bad, just used. Like someone had been inside, moving air around. I stood in the entryway and listened. The building was quiet. On my counter, my phone was face up. The screen was on. There was a message, unsent, typed out in the chat with my ex. I can't do this anymore. I didn't type it. My throat went tight in a way that felt almost comical, like my body was overreacting to a string of words. I picked up the phone, and my fingertips left the sweat on the glass. The typing indicator appeared. A new message arrived. You don't have to. Then, after a pause, I can do it for you. I locked myself in the bathroom. I called a friend from the landline I barely used. My voice sounded thin and staged, like I was playing someone scared. I told her I thought someone was messing with me. I didn't say my ex. Saying it felt like inviting it into the sentence. She came over. We searched the apartment together, which was ridiculous because what were we going to find? A person folded in a closet like laundry? A camera hidden behind a book? We found nothing. She stayed the night on my couch. We kept the lights low and the TV on for noise. Around midnight, she fell asleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to her breathing through the thin wall, grateful for it like it was proof the world still contained other humans. At 2:42 a.m., my bedroom door handle turned. Not the door opening, just the handle, as if someone was testing the weight of it. The sound was soft, polite. A question. I didn't move. I didn't breathe properly. My whole body became a held note. The handle turned again, then stopped. I waited for the click of the building door. It didn't come. Instead, my phone, on my nightstand, screen dark, lit up with a notification from a calendar app I never used. Event starting. Remember. I didn't set it. I hadn't even opened that app in months. The phone buzzed again. Location, home. Then, guest, you. The last buzz felt like it came from inside my chest. I didn't scream. I didn't run. I did something worse. I checked the event details. There was a note attached. No sender, no invite link, just text. You keep locking doors like that changes what I am to you. I stared at the words until they blurred. And in the blur, I realized something so simple it should have been obvious from the start. I wasn't being watched from outside. I was being watched from the place where I kept all my versions of us. The cloud, the shared accounts, the old routines, the digital leftovers you don't think about because they're invisible. My ex didn't need to be in the hallway. They were in the shape of my life. The next morning, I went to the police. I showed them the messages. I showed them the login alerts. I showed them the voicemail timestamp. The officer's face did the careful, neutral thing people do when your story is too modern to fit their instincts. They took notes. They told me to change passwords again. They suggested cameras. Cameras. As if the problem was a person. I changed everything anyway. New email, new number, new bank cards. I moved apartments. I deleted old accounts like I was ripping out teeth. For 3 weeks it was quiet. The silence felt like winning. I started to sleep again. I started to laugh for real. Then, one evening, my new building's front door clicked. A soft mechanical sound. A lock that disengaged just for a second, then caught again. Click. Silence. I froze on the stairs. Click. And then my phone, my brand new phone with my brand new number, buzzed with a notification from a fitness app I hadn't installed. You've completed your goal, 2.42 km. Under it, a message preview from an unknown contact. I found you the same way you found me, by checking what you forgot you left behind. I stood there, key in my hand, unable to move forward or back, because for the first time I understood the real rule. You can move houses, you can change locks, you can erase messages, but you can't erase the version of you that someone else learned how to operate. And as the building door clicked again, patient, familiar, I realized the guest in that calendar event was never my ex. It was me.